Yeah, what's going on, friends and family? My name is Skylent, and I'm a little late with this, I guess, because a lot of people have already been ranting about it, but I didn't want to go down the black hole toilet that is Twitter, or really get involved with any sort of controversy, and hopefully I'm not starting anything, because my opinions might be worded a little strongly here, but I did want to rant. So, hey, welcome, guys. This is a rant video. I'm going to say some words and things, and this might be coming out of nowhere. Some people, like if you're a subscriber, you might not see the correlation here. Why are you talking about Pokemon? You often don't talk about single-player games. Whoa. Pokemon is not a single and never has been a single player game. It has actually always been a trading, a social, and competitive game from the very beginning. The whole, gym battling, the story, the Elite Four, the becoming champion. When you beat Pokemon, you've just started playing Pokemon. The competitive, the breeding, the literal catching them all, which you hear constantly, that's the game. Like actually formulating your team, the best tactics and strategies you can come up with, breeding them, getting all the stats. Sure, that's really the full game. And obviously trading, talking with other players, looking at guides, things like that. It's a very social type of experience, and totally correlates with what I do on this channel, especially how this game is sold. Often here we talk about free-to-play games, MMOs, games as a service, and Pokemon being biannual. Sometimes I think they've released some games like a year after, but basically being a reoccurring game that basically resells itself and kind of regurgitates and reskins itself very often. Really, what you're buying are kind of expansion packs. So yeah, let's talk about that. We're getting expansion packs in Pokemon, which you probably already know, and you just want to know my thoughts and feelings on it. So what's coming with this? We got a new region. It looks like we're getting a new rival, a couple other things. I'm not going to go over the full list. I'm sure we're going to get more information of more things we're going to get soon. That's going to make this look more juicy as a purchase and make the whole Sword and Shield thing look a little bit more fuller. But that's also my problem here. Oh yeah, we're getting 200 returning Pokemon. So sweet, but that's horrible, They have an idea concept for a game, and they created the minimum viable product for that game. If you played Sword and Shield, even if you enjoyed it, which I did, that you can tell all the shortcuts that they've taken. You can tell that this is a like as small of a game that they could have made and then still have passed it off, which they totally did. We all ate it up. I'm saying I didn't actually. I never was going to buy this game. It was a gift copy. And even then, I felt dirty playing it. And even then, I feel bad saying anything sort of positive about this game. Because in the grand scheme of things, it's like I'm really digging into the game to find the good stuff. And I have very unique biases that make me kind of love this game. I really love the hype of the competitive nature of the story. I love tournament arcs. I fucking love Dynamaxing. As a mechanic, it's actually garbage and slows down the pace of the game. But it looks so cool and it could have been done so well. And honestly, I want t-shirts of all the Dynamax Pokemon. I want a poster. I think Kaiju and the way they make the new forms are extremely artistic. Whoever is coming up with these Dynamax form, the Gigantamax forms, they need to make a lot of money because they are gorgeous. They're amazing. Okay, and so there's a lot to this game that could be seen as like geniuses, little tiny genius, little pieces of a game, but as a whole game, not worth $60. Not at all. They gutted it. They gutted the Pokedex for balance reasons. And let's just rant about that real quick. The balance is totally off on this game. It's really garbage, actually. The game is too easy in parts, and you can get stuck really easy if you refuse to follow the obvious meta that they want you to follow, like, spamming you with like all these dark moves. Like, dude, everyone knows the same moves. It's all the same fighting moves, all the same dark moves. Like, basically, this Pokemon game has the least amount of moves we've had in a long time, the least amount of Pokemon that we've had in a long time, and the story itself is so hyper linear that you don't ever really get a chance to branch out. Because you need certain Pokemon to get through the game at the pace that you really should be playing it at. Even though you have the open world section that you can always dip in and out of and catch any Pokemon that you want, not really, because they gate you by levels. So there's all these things that are kind of like fake gameplay, but really, you don't have this many choices. It's actually an incredibly linear game, and then it kind of balloons outward later. Like much later, like after the Dragon Trainer, then it's like, okay, we can start to do some things. But yeah, anyways, so we needed more Pokemon. throughout the whole game. And this expansion is going to add Pokemon, and it's going to do stuff. It's going to be cool gameplay. And by that point, the end game, I think it's going to be fun. That's where the game's going to start picking up and be like, oh yeah, no, this is cool. It's going to make people forget that they paid $60 for a $20 game. And, it's going to make people look very fondly at the whole package of Sword and Shield plus the Season Pass, which, by the way, it's a Season Pass. It's not a single expansion. It's 2 expansions. It's a Season Pass that you have to buy, which might not even be all of the future content. Oh my god. Plus, remember, the game sold itself in exclusive versions, which had cut content between the two of them. Holy god dang. Anyways, but that's not ever going to fix the original balance of the start of the original game. And that's just really tragic to me, because it could have been so great. Anyways, as much as I love Dynamaxing, let me just say this real quick. Dynamaxing is so cool and yet so broken that you can't even use it in competitive. Okay, now let's talk about this expansion stuff. So not just a cheap $1, $2 kind of thing, $5 thing. You got to buy a whole season pass. There's some games. There's entire games that cost that much money. And you can say that for a lot of games. Fighting games get away with this. Even Dark Souls had some kind of dubious expansions, I would say. You could say that Dark Souls 2, you kind of needed the expansion for the full experience. And Dark Souls 2 is my favorite Dark Souls if you play Scholar of the First Sin. Scholar of the First Sin is Dark Souls at its peak, in my opinion. There's just specific stuff that happens in there that's so great. But you need the Scholar of the First Sin version. And so, yeah, a lot of games get away with this. And Pokemon has for years. Yellow version is like the better red and blue version. Emerald better than Ruby and Sapphire. You got your Crystal version. They always have like these big leaps in technology or something, so they add in these new features. But normally back in the day, because of the limitations of the technology, and just I guess because we were kind of young consumers, we didn't quite realize how heinous all that was, and it did kind of make sense. Yellow version brought a little bit more color to what was Game Boy games. They weren't Game Boy Color games. They were Game Boy games. So they had a very strict color palette. Yellow had a little bit more going on with it, especially if you plugged it into the Super Nintendo adapter. You could see more. Had more mini games, had a more unique story in a way. It just had more storied content, etc. Black and White was a big expansion from other games. And then they did a sequel, Black and White 2. They did a whole sequel. So they've always kind of toyed around with like expansions and alternate versions and alternate expansion versions, and like they basically have been trying to do everything. And now what I think is really so wrong about this new game is they're doing all of those things combined. Basically, is now we have a season pass, we have versions, exclusives, like we have to buy the different versions, or they just exist. It just seems kind of shitty in a way. Which back in the day that forced trading and community wasn't really needed anymore with the internet culture. Oh, but now it's needed again for sure. Needed because you got to pay for the online, ladies and gentlemen. You have to have Switch Online. Yep, Nintendo and Pokemon Company, they're kind of the same. They're kind of combined. So that decision was definitely, obviously, weighted. And then, you're going to have all these different multiple versions of like different regions. So it's going to be a similar engine. It's going to be the same gameplay as always. So we're going to have the Galar region. Who knows? Maybe the next region will be Helva. I don't fucking know. And then, Pokemon can't go from each region to the next like it used to. You can't just store all your Pokemon, bring all your friends with you to the next, place. You're gonna have to pay a subscription to the Pokemon Bank. So you gotta have all these subscriptions, you gotta have all these expansion passes, you wanna collect all the Pokemon. If you wanna play Pokemon how it's meant to be played, which is a game as a service, you need to buy all these different services for one service, basically. For one experience, you have to spend in all these different directions, and that's my issue. If there's a game like RuneScape, which is just a subscription, awesome. It's free to play, and you can potentially play it completely free, or there's a subscription. Just one and done. I love that. There's some games it's just a box copy, and I love that. But when you start double dipping, then you got to start looking at it kind of carefully. It's like, okay, is this pay to win? Is this fair? Is it just cosmetic? What's going on here? And then when they start triple dipping, oh, you have an alternate subscription. Is it really optional? I don't know about that. And then quadruple dipping. Oh, multiple versions, multiple subscriptions to really fully play the game. Expansion pass. Oh, no, it's a season pass. Not just season fucking pass. It's basically like, wow, man, this must be so much content. This game is just ballooning with content, which you could maybe dare say about something like Smash Bros. You could be like, okay, well, it costs a lot of money. It does have a fighter pass and things like that. It does have DLC, but what content you're getting, that's debatable. You can debate that. But when it comes to Pokemon, I'm pretty sure everyone on the planet can see, oh, this was a game that totally was gutted. This is a game that is not to its fullest potential, and we have to spend all this extra money to not just have the experience that we just bare minimum really need, but all this extra content that should have been there in the first place. We gotta pay it up, pay it all up. We can see that it was cut. I'm not saying it like all of this was literally just cut content, all for the nefarious reasons to save money and make money, but kind of almost that. I think most of the content, and I think all this was incredibly strategically planned in order to do that. This is a minimum viable product that they pushed out because it's Pokemon. We all know that, right? It's Pokemon. No matter what they put out, we're going to buy it. And it's probably going to be okay to an extent, especially if you're addicted to everything or you're a kid and you just want to jump in. And if this is your first Pokemon game, you don't know what you're missing, I guess, in a way. But dude, it's $60 for one of the shortest games out there that even with all the incredibly repetitious content that they throw at you, you can just tell it's not a $60 game. And then this expansion better not have me fight my rival 10 times like in a row in an hour just to elongate the experience, I really hate that. So basically what I'm saying is I'm actually not against the idea of Pokemon doing expansions or alternate versions, or, like being an annual franchise with these mini adventures like Galar and then maybe Helluva, I guess, or whatever could be next. I don't mind that even to the point of like, okay, the Pokedex is cut. It's just all those things have to have good reasons, and you can't double dip with monetization. But the balance was shit. You cut the Pokedex and the balance is shit, even to the point of Dynamaxing being banned in competitive. Your breeding and your shiny catching systems are really broken and kind of stupid. Oh, and you event systemed, you looking at gacha mobile, you literally turned Pokemon into a gacha game when it came to catching Gigantamax Pokemon to an extent. I think it can be gamed a little bit, but it's, you're kind of breaking the game at that point. It's a little weird. So Pokemon is trying everything that it can. Oh, and if you try to play Pokemon Masters on mobile, which could have been such a phenomenal idea. Oh my God, could have been great. You know what I'm talking about. Actually, if you played any Nintendo mobile game, Nintendo is not the pure child that we think it is. They don't just try to make fun, non-evil toys. They know they're out to make money. And they have a certain image that they're promoting, but if you really look at it, Nintendo is just like every single other company. Really. For the most part. I mean, like, when it comes to what they can get away with. So they try to give and take, but I think with Pokemon, they took a little more than they gave. That's a lot of my money, that's a lot of my time, and I know personally, I'm not going to afford my money and time. I'm not going to put it into Pokemon to play it competitively anymore. I'm not going to try to catch them all in that sense, and it's just really tragic. Because there were some little pockets of genius in Sword and Shield. And I think I'm going to end by giving you one specific example of one thing I really liked in Sword and Shield, just because I don't know where I could talk about this. If I can make a dedicated video on it, maybe, let me know. But there was actually one really cool thing that I really did enjoy. And hopefully with the expansion, we do specifically get this mechanic. There is one thing that if there's a hope and dream for these expansions and future Pokemon games, I do want it to be this. There was one moment inside of Pokemon Sword and Shield, other than seeing the Gigantamaxes, which were epic, right? That's all cool and dandy. But in terms of gameplay, there was a point where I was in the open world section, which is, by the way, not a world. It's like a little park. It's essentially a couple lakes. It's nothing. And so I'm trying to catch a Noivern. A Noivern is it's a dragon flying. It's like a little bat thing. It's so cool, and I really wanted to catch it, and so I wanted to just run up and catch it, but it flew away. It's a flying Pokemon. It's actually flying. Isn't that cool? So some Pokemon swim, and you gotta surf to get them, or fish for them, or whatever. They definitely need more variety of things like that, but the flying Pokemon, that was a cool gimmick. There's a flying Pokemon, and you want to catch him, and you have to wait until he kind of dips down, and then you have to catch him. Except the problem is that he runs away. He gets scared and runs away. So what you have to do is hide in the bushes. But you know what's in the bushes are Pokemon. And you have passive Pokemon and you have aggressive Pokemon that'll chase you. So you have to either battle them or you have to stealth mission around them, hide in the bushes, wait until Noivern gets close enough, and then whistle to draw Noivern to you, and then you can fight the battle. And so there was actually kind of like a gamification of the hunting of the Pokemon, of the catching. It wasn't just the battling, it wasn't just getting them to red, which they need way more gimmicks with that. It's way too simple. So there was actually a gimmick of trying to track down this Pokemon. I think one, a critic isn't supposed to give solutions, but one thing would be like in an ice area. Have a Pokemon that's running all around and have ice, so then you slide all around. So you have to kind of strategically path how to catch the Pokemon. There's literally been ice puzzles in like every Pokemon game. How do you not have an ice path with Pokemon on the ice path that you have to kind of strategically dance around, Because you just run in a straight line, you slide when you're on ice. What? How does that? Or maybe like whirlpools and things like that drag you towards other Pokemon in the water. Because there's so much environmental stuff that could happen that doesn't. So for one little bit, I had a little bit of fun trying to puzzle. It took me like 30 minutes to figure out. It's like, okay, do I have to run into this Noivern? Like, do I have to catch it real quick by surprise? Am I supposed to just whistle? You can't just whistle out of the grass. It doesn't work. So, I have to go hide in the grass, get in the right perfect position where he comes, because he only flies near the grass in a very particular spot, and then whistle. And I was like, oh my God, that's so cool. That's so neat. But it's completely ruined because when I finally found the Noivern, he was too high level. I couldn't catch him. Also, deterred me was the fact that later on, you can just find all these Pokemon just normally in the grass. They're not flying anymore. So it's not like every single Pokemon has unique AI or unique patterns of behavior. There's just very, very small singular instances of gamification that goes completely squandered, because later on you can just run into them with a bike, in the bushes somewhere. There's no point. It's literally pointless. And that sucks, because that could have been really cool if that was like a real mechanic. Right now, it exists in the game. If I did a review, I could say, oh man, you actually hunt Pokemon. That's completely not true though. The true gameplay loop of Pokemon Sword and Shield is it's garbage. So moving forward, I do hope that these new regions have specifically if you want to say like Monster Hunter World, how you have to find the monsters, you have to actually find them because they're kind of hidden. You have to actually track them down. You have to hunt them. And they have movement patterns and stuff like that. Oh, that's all you got to do. Like the sliding ice area or something like that. You just need to have some environmental gimmick of some sort, which even in the older games, you did have environmental gimmicks. You actually had caves that were full black, or you had certain areas that kind of had like a lot of obstacles that would get in your way. In this game, you didn't really have that. There really wasn't any sort of obstacle or HM moves or anything. You basically just had like, you had your bike that you can go on water eventually. And there was nothing else. That kind of sucks. So, for a game that's trying to be more open world than ever, it actually has less world mechanics than ever. Minus one little element of sometimes Pokemon run real fucking fast at you, and it's kind of scary. They don't really have really large roaming areas, so maybe in these new expansions you'll have more roaming Pokemon. You basically don't have that? Yeah, that kind of sucks. I don't know. And I don't know what to say, guys. It's just basically I just realized I could offer so many solutions, and I could pick at so many criticisms that this would be too long of a video. Really, we're just talking about the expansions. So basically, yeah, the expansions should have just been included with the game. I mean, there's so many games where you just buy a box copy like Minecraft and it just constantly expands. Pokemon is a competitive game. It's a social trading game. It's a whole community. This is one of those games that can afford to do this, and it's not. Not only is it not, but they're triple double dipping on top of all of it. And we're letting them get away with it. And so, yeah, that sucks. Yes, I will be buying the expansion. I gotta catch them all. I mean, basically, I gotta make this adventure worth it. Plus, I didn't purchase Sword and Shield. My partner did. So actually, I need to. I need to buy the expansion for us together, I guess. But in the end, I don't know. Feels dirty, man. It feels dirty. How do you guys feel? Let me know in the comments below. Let me know. Much love. And I'll see you in the next one.